What's up, everybody? Welcome to Space Arena Ground Arena, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground up into space. I'm BananaCrapshoot, and tonight we're doing a Rex deck tech. And normally, this is something we normally do by ourselves, so we're changing it up tonight. And with me tonight, helping me go through this deck tech video, is KennedyHawk. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. I'm here to learn, like hopefully all our viewers are as well. So hopefully I asked the questions they were asking, and if I didn't, put your question in the comments so that we can answer it later.
Yeah, call me out. Tell me how wrong I am. All right, so this deck is focusing obviously on the new leader Rex, and we're using him with Energy Conversion Lab. Um, so we'll start. This is kind of how I got this. I took my template from Dan and changed it a little bit. So I know Dan did this with his like Invader deck tech and broke it down. So I thought that was a good template. Used a similar template for mine. So this is how I've been doing it for my deck techs recently. So we'll go through all this stuff. We're gonna start out looking at an overview of the deck, so you get an idea of what we're diving into here. Quick overview before we start digging into it that points or sticks out to you.
Not too much. I think it looks great, and I think it's exciting to see some of the double aspect cards that may have been ignored in the past, like Attack Pattern Delta, find
Mm-hmm.
a place in a more wide meta that we have now with lots of wide boards. So I'm excited to see what you've built and why.
Yeah, so the quick general overview of the deck is using Rex as our leader and the double aspect cards like Manufactured Soldiers and Drop In and Shock T and create a bunch of clones and go super wide, and then have the synergies with Rex Leader, with Commander Cody, with Shock T to have all those units buffed at the same time so we can maintain good board control and then push damage at the same time. So that's kind of the overall idea. Um, so looking at the leader himself, his front side, he has the action 2 resources. Exhaust him if you attacked with a friendly unit. You can create a clone token. This one for me, I don't use super often, but it is nice sometimes if you have like a bad hand that's like a full of events, but you played like a Battlefield Marine turn one, that you can still continue to build your board, even if you didn't play a unit from hand that turn. Then he deploys on 5, and he's a 2/6. And when deployed, he creates a clone trooper token, and all trooper units while he's in play get +1 health. So all your clone trooper tokens, all your clones, all your Sindari Peacekeepers, everything is +1 health. It buffs most of the deck. Everything except the spaceships and Shock T and Ayla get buffed by Rex. So that's nice to make things more sticky. And you're like 2/6, it's not great stats, really. Like, that's low attack value on deploy, but if you consider the clone token adds 2/2 or 2/3 in this case, it's actually really good effective stats when he deploys. So what are your thoughts on Rex Leader overall?
Yeah, I agree exactly with what you're saying. I don't tend to use his action a lot early in the game because early in the game I'm kind of playing on curve to get to my 5 resources and flip. And then as we've seen in your deck build, right, I think the top of your curve caps off at Rex unit.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually you're going to have enough resources that you can drop a little trooper and play an extra clone trooper. So when you get to that point in the game where people are in not top deck mode, but like draw 2 cards and play them mode, you effectively have 3 cards because you have two
Mm-hmm.
cards plus one for a clone trooper, which is really important. You outboard your opponent with this swarm ability. So you can use it early on if you have an awkward hand. Say you mulligan into like a bunch of 2 drops and you're stuck playing a 2 drop on turn 2. Sounds great. You can get an extra body. Really good at helping you like get to coordinate, but mainly I use it after I've flipped and deployed him. If he gets defeated when I go back, I start using him in future turns to outlast my opponent.
Yep, I agree with that. Uh, so like we already talked about, he allows us to create extra bodies. He can fix bad hands. He's good on deploy, and he has trooper synergies. So the core of the deck, the 3 main cards that really make this thing tick in my mind, that I wouldn't change, are Shock T, Ayla, and Manufactured Soldiers. So Shock T is the 3/4 for 4. Each friendly token unit gets +1 attack, and on attack she creates a clone trooper token. I really like her as an ECL target, because you can get the clone right away. You don't have to wait around for it. So you don't always want to waste the ECL on her, but there's times where it's really good to ECL her into something, and then you get the body right away. And then Ayla is also another great ECL target. 6 attack, 5 health, and with coordinate on attack, she doesn't take combat damage back, which is ridiculous. So it's not like First Strike with Han, right, where he has to defeat the unit. This is just straight up ignores the damage back as long as there's 2 other units on board. So Ayla is a really good piece to use to control the board in the mid game because she can attack units and just stay alive. And then manufactured soldiers lets us create clones on demand for cheap, right? We're getting 4 stats for 3, which is a really good body most of the time. And then if you have your Shock T out, or once you get Rex out like that, it just builds on that. So what are your thoughts on the core?
Yeah, so I built my own double green Rex deck that's slightly different than yours, but I have the exact same 3 core units because I'm also running ECL. And I think that you have to go into using ECL with the mindset that you're going to use ECL at an opportune time. So you're going to use it when Ayala gets to use her coordinate ability and not take damage back, or you're going to use it with Shock T when Shock T is going to survive. So you're going to create 2 bodies and remove a body.
Yep.
So plan on figuring out how to and when to use that ECL, because that to me is like the core decision in this deck. If you use ECL at the right time, in a lot of games that means you win. If you use it at the wrong time, then you're going to find out later, and because
Yep.
you used it at the wrong time, you're going to lose. So I think that especially with these 2 Jedi, you want to make sure to use ECL at the perfect time to use it.
Yeah, and on that, I think a lot of it depends on the deck you're playing too, right? If you're playing an aggro deck, you're probably gonna ECL Shock T. If you're playing other mid-range decks, you're probably gonna end up ECLing Ayla, because like Ayla can wipe like Han leader, right? If you ECL,
Yep.
Han leader's gone. So, and when you're trying, if Han's trying to do that 5 to 7 turn, right, and he's trying to DJ and steal your resources, being able to ECL Ayla. And really, in our deck, you can kind of dirtle because this deck ends up taking more actions than your opponent most of the time with the amount of tokens and everything that's going on. I found that I most of the time don't have initiative, so you can kind of dirtle and make Han flip before you use your ECL. And this
Yeah,
is just
totally agree.
all the same stuff we talked about. I guess I don't need the PowerPoint in this one. So flares the other things in the deck that make it tick. So the Rex unit himself on 6 is another ECL target. I don't know that I've ever ECL'd Rex himself, but when played, he creates 2 clone trooper tokens. The 4/4 stat's not great on a 6 drop, but when you consider the extra 4 composite stats from each one, he's really like an 8/8 effectively. So it's really good for 6. And he also turns out coordinate himself just by being played. Drop in 4 cost, create 2 clone trooper tokens, another way to flood the board and turn on coordinate. And then Commander Cody, the 4/4 stats on him, also not the greatest for 5, but the overwhelm, and the really good thing that I love about Cody is the coordinate, where he gives each other friendly unit +1/+1 and overwhelm. That includes your clone tokens, includes your Ayla and your Shock T, right? So you got Rex leader buffing the health on all your trooper dudes. You got Commander Cody giving all your friendly units +1/+1, and then Shock T's giving all your tokens +1 health, so or +1 attack. So there's a lot of synergy here between these cards to make the tokens and everything really tick. And I just said that again in text form.
For the visual learners, yeah.
Yeah, for the visual learners. Some other tech cards we have in here. So Sundari Peacekeeper is a trooper. Has Restore 2, which is huge, especially in aggro decks. Being able to play Sundari early and heal some of that damage you're taking on your base is pretty big. Raid 2 is nice, and then obviously you can get buffed. Yularen is a good solid turn 1 play to set up ongoing healing, especially against Sabine. You're going to want to try to mulligan for Yularen to get that healing going in to get her damage to base. And then attack pattern delta is actually really solid in this deck because most of the time we're going to have a bunch of units that we can get max value out of this card. Set 1 card hasn't seen a lot of play, but it's found a home now in set 3.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I think you need restore in your deck, especially running ECL in a probably soon to be aggro heavy meta, especially as the
Hmm.
new set's coming out. A lot of people are going to go to the tried and true aggro and try to win your locals and win their events. So bringing a little bit of restore, and it doesn't take much, is enough to really slow down an aggro deck. So I have these same two cards in mind: Sundari Peacekeeper and Colonel Yularen.
I said the same thing again. Again. The mulligan, generally for me, in my mulligan, I'm looking for a battlefield marine or Yularen and a token generator. So I'm looking for like a drop in or a manufactured soldier so I can play it to really start going wide. Um, and then I have my ideal start as battlefield marine or Yularen into a Sundari or manufactured soldiers, like I just said. We're okay playing the one drop and then Rexing to get
Hmm.
another body, but ideally I'm looking for a marine and Yularen into Sundari. Do you have a different mulligan or opening strategy that you look for?
Yeah, I use the same too. I also I include the little ambush two drop
Mm,
marine from command
yeah.
because I might play a battlefield marine turn one, and then turn two I can attack with it and play a I can attack with it, use Rex's ability, and then turn on coordinate with the other one so that I get like an ambush in, and I can end up with 2 to 3 units on the board and one removed. So yeah, I mean in general you're just looking for two and one drops. I also like, I think it's a three cost if I remember right. Yang, who's like a robot
Mm,
Jedi droid unit.
yeah.
When played, you choose another character and give it +2/+2. So if you start with a Battlefield Marine, you can play Yang and make that Battlefield Marine a 5/5 for your second turn. So sneaky stuff like that to like buff up your guy that's going to attack seems pretty good.
And then what do we want to do with the deck overall? Kind of talked about in the beginning. We want to swarm with units and tokens. We want to turn on coordinate for all our units, but ideally Ayla and Cody. Those are gonna you're gonna get the most mileage out of those coordinates. You do that to ensure your own ability to own the board state, own the board control, and then really pushing a lot of damage with your buffed up tokens. If you're using Ayla to control board, most of your damage is going to come from your other units. And then use Rex ability when available to leverage poor hands and help push board control. Is that your general way you
Yeah,
play too?
exactly. It's there's sort of two ways to play Swarm in Star Wars Unlimited in this new set, and one is the heroism way, which is more what Rex is trying to do, where you get more tokens by attacking. So it might feel snowbally, or it might feel win more. Some people might say, but it's not. It's get rewarded for being aggressive, if you will. And the other way is with battle droids, right? There's a lot of like when this thing is defeated, spit out a battle droid. So in other card games I've played, both ways have been very successful, and this is more of the one where you want every card you're playing to like be spitting out a second thing, so that you're always getting two bodies out of your one card and they're getting one body. So that's why Shock T with ECL is really good. Rex Unit is really good. The event that just spits out two clone troopers is really good because you're using one card to create two bodies. So if they're going to try to one-to-one match you in control or in trades with mid-range,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to end up behind in body advantage.
I agree. We can look at the whole sideboard then, but the three main cards in the sideboard, I have defensive Camino. So this is for this phase, each friendly Republic unit gains restore two, and when defeated, create a clone trooper token. This is another way we can heal. I'll usually side this in against aggro decks, and then it's another way to create more tokens. Choose sides is a sneaky one into control decks that are we can trade our clone token with their big thing, which is pretty sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
And then timely intervention is another way to gain more ambush if we feel like we need it into whatever matchup. Some other adjustments you can make for the deck, other directions you can go. You can definitely go more ramp heavy, add stuff like Spark of Hope and Resupply, so you can have 9 ramp cards in your deck to go and go bigger, go taller. The clone 7 drop unit is an interesting one. It lets you copy the stats of other big units that'd be maybe instead of choose sides. And then you could go full U-Wing and go try to go really wide and get some crazy plays off U-Wing. So those are 3 different ways I think you could go with the deck. Do you have any other adjustments or other ways you think you could go?
Yeah, the way I'm building mine is pretty similar, right? You have a lot of low to the ground, cheap 2 to 3 to 4 cost trooper units, and I do the same thing, but I bring a lot of ways to buff those units because the weakness of those cheaper units is a lot of them are going to die to make an opening, or we're going to have more units to so the new double vigilance event equalize. Almost, I think actually everything in the deck except for some of the space units dies to a takedown. And dies to removal isn't an acceptable answer to like why a deck doesn't work or what you have to watch out for. But bringing things to make that not happen, even stuff people aren't expecting, like academy training, just adding +2/+2 to something can make it really hard to take something down. And likewise, I like to bring something to buff Rex up a little bit because the 2/6 stat line, like you said, it leaves something to be desired. I'm less worried about the 2 attack because I just want to get as many attacks off with him as possible. So bringing an academy training or an inspiring mentor to help buff your other characters as Rex is attacking can be really powerful, which I really like, right? Attacking with Rex and creating a trooper and then immediately giving it an XP from inspiring mentor is crazy. And you do have multiple Jedi in your deck, right? You have Shakti and Ayala, so you could consider the new General's lightsaber. I know upgrades are a little last set. We're all into token world now, but what I've noticed is, at least in pre-release constructed week, 1 week in, people are running less upgrade removal because less upgrades are getting played. So now is the time to punish players for that by building a big beefy unit that has on attack spit out more units, and that's worked really well for me.
Yeah, I like it. Some other units we'll just talk about quick that weren't really highlighted. That the new Echo is a 2 cost 2/2, but with coordinated becomes a 4/4. Synchronized Strike is a pretty solid event to take out lots of units with the amount of tokens we're playing. Star Viper is another way to get restore. It's some space presence. We don't in the mid to late game. We usually never have initiative, but early we can. So I like the Star Viper for an early play and restore. Bright Hope is just a solid space unit to shut down aggressive space decks. Then obviously we have the command and the supply frigate because coordinate when played you can create tokens and it has a big butt so you can trade into some ships. And then the sideboard is really the rest of it is just filling in like 2 or 3 copies of some other cards to shore out some things into certain matchups. But that's what I got. That's my Green Bugaboo Rex ECL. So I'll
That's
stop
pretty
sharing.
sweet.
It's a lot of fun. Go try it. Go win your locals with it. It's one of my
Yeah, take that
favorite
week
new
one
decks.
locals next week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So do you have anything you want to talk about or grill me on to
Well, I got some questions about why our decks are different. It's because we didn't share them until just now. And I haven't even shared mine yet. I have to finish typing it up for you.
Okay.
But there's some units I use in my deck that aren't in your deck, and I thought I could ask you, hey, what about unit XYZ?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a new unit, a 2 cost Republic clone unit in Twilight Republic called Republic Tactical Officer. When played, you may attack with a Republic unit. It gets +2 for this attack. I think it's a 1/4 body
Mm-hmm.
as a 2 drop. Have you tried that guy out at all?
I have tried him and the extra 2 damage is nice at times, but what I found is once he's on the board he kinda sucks.
I have the
Um
same opinion.
so like if he I don't know, like if we could buff him somehow with I mean he gets buffed by Cody, but he's usually not alive. Um
Yeah, I like that he has the clone tag, but he doesn't have the trooper tag, and that's the
yeah,
whole deck thrives on it. So if you
yeah.
got to make a cut, it makes sense. The other one that I thought that I really like, this is probably my favorite like generic green card from the set, is First Liberator.
Mm.
It's when played, if you control another Republic unit, you may heal 3 from a base. I've found this strong card to be incredibly powerful. It's like a Star Viper for the ground, but you don't need initiative. It only goes off 1 time. Have you tried that guy at all?
I have. I did like it. I forget why I cut it to be honest. That's definitely one that I could see making its way back in because I think my initial build wasn't as heavy on like Republic traded things. I think I could definitely see it making its way back
And
in,
there's, to be
especially
fair,
now that
you go.
Boba is suspended and we're expecting a lot
It's the
more
principal's
aggro.
office.
That having that basic 3 heal on demand is definitely worth considering and testing with more.
Yeah, he's got all the tags that you want: Republic, Clone, and Trooper. If you're going to include the Republic Tactical Officer or whatnot, and the 3 healing is just, I found in pre-release he was just really strong.
Oh, I
So I
can
started
definitely
including him
see.
in decks, and he became pretty crazy because you only need one other unit out, and it works pretty well. Yeah, and well, to be fair, also if you look at your deck, right, you've got Battlefield Marine, you've got Star Viper, you've got several cards that don't have the Republic trait. And when you talked about what you're mulliganing for, which is a Battlefield Marine, like playing this turn 2 against an aggro deck isn't going to let you get that healing if you've played a Battlefield Marine turn 1.
Yeah.
But it also trades super favorably in early for aggro. So if you do happen to find a cheap Republic unit to play turn 1 against aggro, this could be a good thing to sideboard in if you need a little bit more healing.
Yeah. I mean,
Two more ones on
it'd have to
heavy
be like
fodder.
the phase 2 close trooper, right?
Yeah.
Or the 332nd stalwart. But, okay.
So you have Colonel Yularen.
Yeah.
I've started including Admiral Yularen, who's a 3 cost command vigilance unit, 2 power, 5 hit points, Republic and official traded, who just has Restore 1 straight up and
Yeah.
gives all friendly heroism units 1 extra defense buff. Have you tried anything with that guy? He's pretty sneaky.
I haven't. That's one I haven't even included. Every time I go through the deck and it's like, nope. Like he's just one I just haven't. I just haven't.
I found that it's a bit more win more with him, but there's a lot of units that are adding to your clone troopers attack and health, right? Shakti is going to add 1 attack to all your clone trooper tokens. Yularen will add 1 defense to them all. Rex will add 1 defense to them all. So if you can live in the magical world where you get all 3 out, right, your clone trooper tokens become a 3/4, which is pretty crazy. Typically, you're only going to have 1 to 2 of them out, but if every body you're slamming down either makes a clone trooper or buffs those clone troopers, I found it to be. He basically has bodyguard or sentinel without having sentinel on him, which is pretty cool. And then the last card I had a question on is this is probably my favorite upgrade I've ever seen in Command. And I know people still don't like upgrades because upgrade hate became so prevalent at the end of the last set. But
Hmm.
squad support, that card has way overperformed for me in crazy ways in trooper decks. Have you tried anything with squad support out yet?
Nope. That's another one I'm just like, nope.
Ooh, yeah. So if people are building this deck and looking for ways to spice it up, those are 4 cards I would recommend you try out and see if they fit your playstyle. So squad support, if you haven't seen it before, it's a 3 cost command upgrade attached to a non-leader unit, so you can't use this to buff up Rex, unfortunately. But the attached unit gains, this unit gets +1/+1 for each trooper unit you control. And it's not each other trooper unit, so that includes like your generic, the trooper itself, if you play it on a trooper. A lot of times I play this on a Shakti because she's spitting out troopers every turn, so she's spitting out like further buffs for her. And then they have to decide, are they going to take down the Shakti monster that has +3/+3 or start taking out troopers to weaken squad support, and it becomes this really difficult decision for your opponent. But 3 cost on an upgrade's a lot, especially for one that has like no immediate effect if there are no troopers in play. So I understand it might be more of a, if your deck's going the way you want it to, this card will be really good kind of
Yeah.
card. But
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
definitely try it
that's
out.
super fun.
Try Dan's cards. His version's probably better than mine anyway.
Nah, I
So,
doubt it. I'll put it in the YouTube comments. That way people can look at it and make fun of it.
all right. Well, that's it. That was the Green Bugaboo Rex ECL Saga Deck Tech Tag Team Champs NXT.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Dan?
No, I hope everybody's enjoying Twilight of the Republic pre-release and official release tomorrow. It's been a blast so far. I'm really loving this set.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like the prequel era and what this set has brought with exploit and coordinate and token units. It's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go play some Rex and have fun and win some games, and we'll see you in the arenas.
See ya.